Okay, looks like we're live now. Got at least two viewers here. So I'm going to make a few introductions and then we'll get into the video itself. This is going to be a live video. If you're on a phone, a tablet, or a home PC, there should be a chat window. I don't know how that works on the phone, so if you have a phone, you might have to dig around. Hey, Ms. Jenkins, how are you doing? I see you in the chat. So those of you that respond in the chat, I'll try to respond back. If y'all have questions, always give me about 5 minutes to get through it. Look, this is going to be for Section 8 news and updates. I am not Connie Chung or what's the other fellow? Anderson Cooper, okay? This is simply me from Section8Consulting.com. I am an expert in the area that I deal in, okay? So I'm not like the big news agencies that talk a bunch of bullshit they don't understand. I work with clients and have for 20 years. I know the heartbeat of the market, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Some good news, rather than all the devastating, sad, terrible news that we typically see across the board. So now the first thing I'm going to talk about is going to be, we're graduating now. It's been almost 2 years since the pandemic started. As far as we know, it started December 12th, 2019, and we're coming up on 2 years. And finally, the housing market is starting to calm down. I'm not suggesting that everything is over when in relation to Section 8 housing, HUD, or anything else. I'm saying that we have peaked. We have seen the worst, in my opinion, of this, and things are starting to flatten out. I don't know how much longer it's going to remain this way. So right now things are still very much a lot of problems, but it's not getting any worse. And that's what I've been looking at for about 60 days is whether or not the market's going to be crazy. Now, the next thing I want to tell you is, in respect to the people that lost their life through all of this, in America, we lost around 750,000 people, so, how would you put that? I'm sad those people ended up losing their life for many different reasons. I know a lot of people around the world lost their life to this pandemic over ignorance. This country was more religious and political purposes. Some people just didn't want to do what they needed to do to protect themselves. So, anyways, in relation to Section 8 housing and affordable housing, low-income housing, I think we are at a point now where we're well funded by the U.S. government. The funds are starting to be dispersed and actually used in every state, in America. In addition to that, they poured billions into homeless housing. And, frankly, that was a good decision because a lot of people were freshly made homeless by virtue of losing their place to live, being evicted, and so on. The big eviction waves did not happen as I anticipated. I mean, it happened. I mean, up to 40 million people did get evicted, and it caused a big housing crisis. But I think the vision of that blowing up and being such a big deal ended up not happening simply because I underestimated the ability of Americans to deal with adversity. In other words, a lot of people, despite everything falling apart, losing their place to live, a lot of people fought to keep their homes. Other people fought to find new places. And people dealt with this in a much better way than I thought that this country would deal with it. And so for that reason, I'm very proud of all Americans for being so tough. It says a lot about what will happen someday if we ever go through a war in our own country, when it's on our own land, that I know that Americans are willing to fight for their housing and their right to be here and so on, whether it's by virtue of a pandemic or whatever it may be. So I just wanted to say that I was stunned. I thought more people would give up, would be lost in the midst of all of this and not be able to maintain housing. But what I have seen is people's willingness to fight for this. So now moving on from that, we talked a little bit about these emergency housing vouchers. I made a video about that. A lot of guys have to realize when I make live videos, they're intended to be long. So some people come annoyed by that. So my recommendation is if you have an attention span of a 2-year-old, that it would be better to go watch, Nancy's Crap channel, how to make a cake in 30 seconds. We don't do that here in this channel. So I don't know if some people suffer from that mental illness where they're unable to have the fortitude to sit and listen a little bit longer. But we like to cross a lot of topics. And that's what a live video is about, just, talking about different things. So not intended to be an insult to anybody. Moving on from that, so the emergency housing vouchers are being dispersed. Most of them have been dispersed in the large cities, means populations of 500,000 or greater cities. Now it's rolled down to the lower populations in less populated cities, which means around 10,000 to 100,000. So if you live in an area that is not in a great big metropolitan area, there's still a great possibility that you could get a referral. We could go in great length of how that might happen, but you do need a referral. It's not as simple as just driving to the housing authority's parking lot. Hey, I need an emergency voucher. They'll need a referral based on things like you being 55 plus, 62 plus, you being a veteran, you being homeless, freshly minted homeless, you being a domestic violence victim, you being extremely low income. So all the preferential areas that they always have looked at are still the same reasons. The difference is now it isn't just the housing authority issuing these; they're being issued by referral from county health. So those of you that have mental health struggles and you're receiving your care not from a private doctor, but from doctors in a hospital that is state or county owned, there is a possibility that your therapist, psychotherapist, psychiatrist, and so on could make a clinical referral for you going, and then that would be taken care of by the housing authority. Those that are receiving, that are veterans that go to, I always forget the name, geez, the VA, sorry. And I should know that considering my mother's husband, goes to the VA. In addition to that, they're trying to hand out more of the emergency housing vouchers to people that are just now becoming homeless or have been out there, for a little bit. So you do not need to have a history of 5 to 10 years on the street in order to get this. But I'm not suggesting it's easy either. They're looking for specific type of answers, and each city determines what reasons why they would want to grant it. Some cities are difficult, and others are not. For instance, if you live somewhere in the upper East Coast, or on the West Coast near California, the rules will probably be a little bit more ridiculous than they would, say, the Midwest. Moving on from that, take a look at a few of these comments real quick and just see what people are saying. Julian Martinez, oh my God, I can't believe I got you live. Yep, guys, I make videos really when I feel in the mood to do it. I tried to do this stuff as a schedule, but I'm not a schedule type of guy. I like to do things when I enjoy it. Just like when you feel like you want to take a vacation, you go do so. I make videos when I feel like it because nobody wants to make a video when they really don't give a damn. And I have those days where I just do not feel like being on this camera. So why force yourself? Moving on from there, Kelly Rabe. Yep, you get to get here really early and those alerts on your phone. Not quite sure what you're saying, Miss Red. Monette Jenkins, I'm proud of Americans. I am proud. You know what? I think we should all be proud of just being an American and seeing us survive this almost 2 years of pandemic. I tell you what, we've seen more things go wrong in this country in a 2 year period than I think that we've probably seen in a long time, probably since the Great Depression or World War II. We've had overheated housing markets. We've had landlords raise rents to astronomical levels. We've seen the greatest migration in levels of evictions in U.S. history. We watched 700,000 people die from a pandemic, which means that's the entire city of Austin, or the 11th largest city in the country. We lost a good chunk of our population, And when you look at it in those terms, that's a lot of people. In addition to all that, we survived many more things. And so, yeah, I'm glad that people fought to keep their respective homes and families together when possible. I know that this year, let me tell you this, guys, this was the most challenging 2 years for me. Y'all almost worked me to death on at least 3 different occasions. At one point, I was doing so many consults that it was starting. I would get up at 3, 4 in the morning and would not finish till 10 o'clock at night. And that carry on, not for weeks, for months, over half a year. And I mean, just a number of people I had to speak to. And prior to this pandemic, prior to these 2 years that we've been going through, these interesting times, prior to that, my success rate was fairly good. It was like 93%. It actually took a pretty big dip I was throwing a lot of challenges with this pandemic and dealing with housing authorities that refused to answer the phone, open their doors, return emails. Um, because of all the housing problems, I had to find new and more clever ways to deal with housing authorities, their operational manuals, and get you guys housing. And it dipped in the 80s. I mean, I think my success rate at one point, fell to nearly 87%. And so that means there's also a high failure rate at that point. But that if that's the best that life can deal, if that's the best it can do to me, is bring me down 17%, then I'd say that I've probably weathered one of the worst crises this country has seen, and I still managed to produce a very good result. I mean, it's sad that 17% of the time cases didn't work out, but hey, during a normal year, it's more like 7%. So I'd say that a lot of people successfully transitioned into housing based on the advice and other things we did in casework for people, which means I could probably count less than 100 people out of over thousands that didn't get what they needed out of the consulting work period for us. So I'll take a look for a few more questions. Jasmine Victoria, how are you doing today? Hey, I just got here. What's going on? We're just doing some news and updates. That's about it, really. Just talking with people and possibly answering some questions, letting people know that hey, we're reaching that point now where things are starting, where the worst is kind of over, and right now we're just kind of idling along and seeing the market not get any worse, which is the best news. That frankly, I've been waiting on this day to come for a while. Um, Monique Jenkins says, I believe they have been dispersed in Jasmine Victoria to each state or only certain states. I don't know the context of the question on that one because it's a little bit late when I read the question. Letitia H. County, if San Diego is not helping low income families with future rent term. So, guys, those of you that are still struggling to pay rent, back rent, or future rent, that would be known as either two different federal programs. It's either ERAP, you'd want to type that into Google, ERAP, also known as RAP, and both can be found as the Emergency Rental Assistance Program through the United States Treasury. But where it gets interesting with that is every city and state can rename it. For instance, the state of Florida decided to call it something key, homeless key, or something like that. So it may not by virtue be named RAP or ERAP. It could be named something different, and that's what took so much of my time back in early January. I think we were able to successfully help people recover about $2 million. That's not a lot of money. That's only when you look at how much people owed and the limited number of clients we had for that. That's not that much money. Full swing in a full office, you probably could have helped a lot more people around the country with that. And of course, the rules for RAP, ERAP, and others, that's just federal. They also have county and state programs that help, but it's much less. They only pay 1 month or part of the month. But there's still programs out there, but some of the rules are a bit ridiculous in the bigger states. They do require a lot of evidence that they know most people probably wouldn't even have, especially those that are near eviction. That if things are everywhere, how the hell are these people going to be able to get all this? And then we both know a lot of these places where you need to prove your case and get that documentation don't even answer the phone. Seems counterproductive to me when you're trying to get rental assistance. Moving on, three pre-pa. Hey, can you port a voucher before the 1 year period because of fear? Because of fear. Let's see. Sorry, guys. The chat window keeps moving, so my eyes are trying to keep up. Because of fear of your life or discrimination. Look, guys, there's only one loophole I can think of. If you receive a voucher and you have not completed 12 months under your HAP contract with the housing authority, there's only one reason I could think. If you had an imminent threat against you, and most specifically in the arena of domestic violence, and more with a person that you're in love with or intimate with than, say, a roommate or a parent or a friend. So that's the only way that I know, and it's not always successful. There are very specific rules about that. But yes, if there's an imminent threat against you, and you moving out of that particular place to another county, And even in some extreme cases, porting out of the state, but those are very rare. You'd have to have the housing specialist in favor of doing so, but usually it would be to a different property in the same county. Or if in more extreme cases, if the district attorney's office were to be involved in the case, they could potentially send you to the next county. That brings up another thing back to the emergency housing voucher. In some rare cases, the district attorney's office, while prosecuting domestic issues, okay, we're going to call it that because YouTube hates that other word, they can also initiate the process to backdoor an emergency housing voucher if there is a criminal aspect of the case. Okay, but there are lots of cases, and not everyone is considered for that particular emergency housing voucher. I have several clients that have gotten it for that particular reason, but I'm not suggesting that anybody that experiences that would receive an emergency housing voucher for that reason. Okay. Lydia Jewel, for whatever reason, it looks like they withheld your comment, but it looks like I can see part of it. Hello, sir. I'm on HUD Section 811. You've got a brain spinal injuries, and you're approved as of 7/2021. Best way to obtain a voucher for buying a home. I do not give advice about purchasing homes. That requires two different things. It requires you to be a licensed real estate agent or a licensed broker. And on top of that, when you're giving out advice, whether it's on YouTube or anywhere else, you would additionally need to be certified by HUD. So you need to be a licensed real estate agent and broker. And on top of that, you need a special certification under HUD. And then you can have the conversation about purchasing a home. What I can tell you is from my own personal experience, there are several programs out there, okay, that can assist you. Look, if you contact your local housing authority, you in fact know that you're in that county and you have a housing authority in that county, you contact them, they either have a housing where they have a program where you can utilize your voucher rather than paying rent, you're paying it into your mortgage. The thing a lot of you guys don't understand is the same rules apply. You're borrowing money, and it's just as stiff and ridiculous in order to do that as it is anything else. So I would encourage you guys to reach out to somebody licensed in an area. I'd rather, I just cannot do that. And it's also a violation of state law to get all over on YouTube and start talking about that. Okay, guys, I'd love to help you, but that's not the framework that I handle as a Section 8 consultant. You really would probably want to speak more to a Section 4. I can't even think of the number of it. Anyways, you need to have a licensed agent for that. Okay. Letitia H. I live in You live in a tax credit property. I've never heard of it being referred that way. We call it lots of things: subsidies, lich properties, affordable housing, all kinds of things. So you live in a tax credit property. So that goes back to being a tenant-based housing. That's pretty cool. Manette Jenkins, thank you for answering our questions. I'm doing my best, guys. I'm definitely doing my best. Y'all can see I'm not quite popping with joy today. And cats kept me awake. Now, most of you don't know that, but I own 22 cats. And I don't own them out of need. I own them because I rescue them from serious injuries and other effects. And, one of the things about having 22 gremlins in your house at night is they have the ability to pop like popcorn everywhere. So you may be sleeping and one of them eyeballs a toe, and next thing you know, you get clawed, and then hello, you're awake. So it's a constant battle. I don't keep them all in the house at one time, but I got to tell you, it's like a flipping petting zoos at days. It's a challenge mentally to get down the stairs. The few times they've almost sent me to my death rolling down the 2 flights of stairs because you can't see them in the middle of the night. They're like little ghosts. You catch a toenail on the carpet. Next thing you know, you're tumbling and rolling, and you hit the linoleum or whatever the hell you got on your floor. So, and then I've got some fairly big tomcats that are pretty lethal too. So, all right, let me move on. I know y'all not here about my alley cats living in the house. So, can I transfer? So Lilia Jewel says, can I transfer from Section 811 to the housing choice voucher? Well, that's an interesting question because it's the same thing. So just a short and brief lesson. I know y'all guys love those long-winded bullshit conversations, but here you're going to have to hear it. Look, a voucher is a voucher. You go down to the housing authority, excuse me, can I get a voucher? They issue a voucher. That voucher is funded by something. And so your particular voucher is funded by by subsections 811. So you don't need to transfer anything. You already have what you have. That is just that. It's just a payment standard attached to the voucher itself. Just like if you were a senior, you have a voucher is a voucher, but it's connected to, section 202. If you were a student, it would be subsection of tax or federal law, and it would be attached to that funding level. If you were a domestic violence victim, it would be attached to VAWA legislation, and then, of course, funding specifically for that. So, guys, look, vouchers are just vouchers. They're all funded by different programs, so you don't need to move from one to the other. It's number. And another thing is the housing authority determines based on your answers on your application of which type of funding should be attached to you in your voucher. You're not going to be. It's not like going down to the steakhouse and getting can I get a menu, and I'd like to switch what I don't want a steak today, I want a ribeye. Look, it doesn't work that way. Your answers are your answers. What you get is what you have. Look, if you got section 811, that's one of the better ones. I'd rank it in the top 5 funding levels of being pretty good. And so why you would want to reverse course to a mainstream worthless ass voucher, I don't know. But yes, it does. All of them come with portability. So Lydia Jules says, "Oh my God, be careful." I try, but you know how that goes. You know, you never know. It'd be sad if one day it was in the news that the man that owns Section8Consulting.com took a roll down the stairs and took my last breath because of a 2-pound cat. But hey, I'm prepared. Whatever life hands me. So, well, guys, I've enjoyed talking with y'all. I don't see a whole lot of questions today. You're still welcome to ask a few more. We're about 21 minutes in. I'll let it carry for about another 9 minutes. And then if we don't have any questions about Section 8 housing, then I believe we've reported about as good a news as we're going to get. You know, the housing market is now calmed down. It's gotten as bad as it's going to get. Now it's starting to retreat. Currently, the markets are being flooded with vouchers. Now, not every big city is seeing that. They were seeing the reverse. And of course, on the other side of that picture is the fact that some cities are knowingly issuing these vouchers as if they're doing this out of goodwill, but yet they know there's not a single place for these people to rent, even though they have a voucher, which creates a whole nother issue. We've already flooded the federal dollars as well to build new affordable housing, but landlords have already gotten shady about that. They're acting a lot like rats, roaches, and spiders, in my opinion. They're taking these federal dollars, they're building properties, and then they're marking the rent up to places where no ordinary low-income person could ever rent it. Same old hustle 20 years later. Landlords jacking it up. And it's especially bad this year because a lot of landlords made a poor decision to accept people that had jobs in their buildings. And they didn't anticipate a 100-year event of people not being able to keep their job. At first, the landlords were desperate to pay their mortgages, would have taken any voucher. Now they've gone back to what they used to be like, and that's they don't want anybody in Section 8 there, so they raise the rents to stupid levels. And so someday we're going to have to address the social issue. And I really do believe that news stations and newspapers are one of the biggest and most deceitful organizations when it comes to giving very biased, racist, and other things news against people at a low income. I've been around low income people all my life. I talk to them every day. Merely by their voice, I can tell you would not know the difference if we were standing in Kroger's. But yet, we subjugate anybody that is low income as not being worthy of even a straw hut. It's that kind of shit taught to your children and on the news that makes all this stuff so socially difficult, and it's disappointing. I hope we have a better generation of kids coming out that are taught to address humans as humans and not base it on the dollar amount. It's kind of sad. There's a baby born every minute. Unfortunately, some babies will never reach past the level of working at Taco Bell and making $8 or $9 an hour. And so he's cursed from day one, regardless, because of the way that people publicly, politically, religiously base their opinions. And then they listen to these talking heads on the news, It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. If I treated all my friends based on their income, We would have a very rocky relationship. Oh, well, you should only call me once a month because you haven't met the income requirements. Unfortunately, you have registered in my phone book as trash. And so trash people only get to call on Mondays between 2 and 3 in the morning. That's the absurdity of a lot of what I see play out from one human to the next when it comes to incomes and housing. Scenarios, racial biases, and all this other craziness. So, anyways, it's crazy. It's sad. It's absurd. I've talked to a lot of low income people that are highly intelligent. A bigger portion of our low income people in this country are seniors that lived and worked 30 years professionally. They no longer have the money from a professional job, or now low income, but now they're just being relegated as, oh, well, that she, Mary, she's over there in Section 8. She's got a Section 8 voucher. She's just a piece of trash. Don't let her near you. But prior to that, the woman was probably a certified RN for 38 years of her life. I've got clients who were former veterinarians. Things happen. Their life savings and career went down to nothing. But we're all relegating judgment on people. And we don't even fucking know who these people are, but we're judging them. I'm not suggesting anybody visiting my channel is doing that, because a lot of the people here for housing, any way that they can get it affordably. But the absurdity is just wild. All right, moving back. I'm off my wild tear about that, trying to give ethical or moral lessons, I guess, and YouTubes. And I guess the day that hell freezes over, right? So trust the princess. Do you help with porting a Section 8 voucher? Yes. So, porting is porting. You've got, no matter where you're going, whether it's in the continental U.S., Alaska, Hawaii, and so on, yes, it's a process that can take several weeks. You're speaking with one housing authority, notifying them of your intent, and then you have RTA packet, that information communicated from one housing authority to the next state, and then they're going to make a determination of whether or not they're going to be billing or absorbing that. So there's a little bit into it. The main thing is a lot of waiting. Housing authorities already have people with attitudes, and when you involve two housing authorities filled with people with attitudes that have their own set of rules, then what you find is you get even more attitude. It's interesting to watch two housing authorities argue amongst themselves to see whose policies and procedures that can convolute the worst. But in most cases, porting is not a difficult process. It just takes a bit. And you got to have all your ducks in a row with it, okay? When it comes to paperwork and getting things done. And you really got to stay on whoever's handling your case as a housing specialist. You got to stay on them, because you can easily get lost in that process. And nobody wants to port somewhere where they're uncertain as to whether or not they're going to get the voucher, and also determine whether or not there's even if they got the voucher there, would they even be able to find a place there? Is there anything available? So lots of things to consider. Letitia H, I've been on Section 8 housing waiting list for 8 years, and they said I will have to wait another 8. Well, I have a philosophy when it comes to believing anything out of the housing authority. If it was up to the people of the housing authority, if they didn't want to work that day, they could tell Letitia, it's going to be another 78 years. And it achieves a certain goal when they tell you stuff like that. Because the first thing is you're already tired from being on the list 8 years. And so they'll say things like that. Oh, well, it'll be another 10 to 15 years. But it achieves one goal. It gets you to hang up and never call back again, really. Look, don't ever believe anything they tell you. Abruptly, I'd say over 90% of the things I've heard come out of these housing authority specialists' mouth is simply to get you out of their hair that day. And they will tell you just about anything. Look, those phone conversations are not a matter of record. It's not like you sent something certified mail. Look, if you're going to wait 16 years for a voucher, that's probably that's longer than I've ever heard. And it would mean you having to give every wrong answer possible, and that you lived in one of the worst cities in the nation with a housing crisis, and so on. So I believe you, but I don't believe what's being told to you, okay? Dora Sanchez, are vouchers being issued by the county housing offices? So I believe you're referring to the housing authority. Well, that would be, Doris, that would be difficult to answer, because you could live in any one of 5,500 counties across 50 states and towns. And so I literally would need a crystal ball to know where you lived, what county, what township, whether or not they have it. So that's what we call casework. So I don't know anything about you, and I don't know where you live or anything, so I can't really answer that question. I would imagine so in some cases, and maybe not. It really just depends, but that's not enough information. Um, Sean Jones, sir, is it hard to get a lemonade with a doctor's info? Look, lemonades and all that. So maybe you want an extra bedroom. Maybe you want another person to come in and clean your toilet. Some of you legitimately have a disability and need the extra help. It can be if you don't know what to do. Look, imagine this. They create a set of rules and then they don't tell you what the rules are, okay? And then they wait and then you make a request to them. And the thing is, since you don't really know what those rules are, they wait for you almost humorously to fill all the shit out wrong, bring the wrong kinds of proof, not meet the expectation, and they grin and go, "Oh, well, I'm so sorry. Unfortunately, your case doesn't meet our criteria, the magic criteria." My advice, my friend, with that is find out what the rules are first. Make sure you meet them. Sometimes we have to not break the law, but stand on defense. Look, a lot of what I do as a consultant is a lot like what a good attorney, criminal attorney does. I look for loopholes and then we dance together and jump through. Okay. That's what I do. I bring shit all the way to the legal limit and then we jump through those holes. So if you don't have the problems they suggested in their little magic rules, and they're not rules, they're federal regulations, but they're also what they call operations, policies, and procedures for the housing authority in order for you to acquire that aid. So we would make sure that somehow, if you don't have those problems present in your life, but sure as hell, by the end of the week, you're going to have them. You have to work against getting them. Never go into that situation with, I don't know, and leave it in their hands. Because once you become a matter of public record with them and you apply saying the wrong things, then it gets much harder at that point because they can go, oh, no, 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 no. You've already told us that's not the case. So you cannot keep changing your answers, hoping for a different result. You see my point? A lot of you guys only get one shot at this stuff. So, anyways, you have to be clever. It's not designed to be fair, clearly. No, not at all. Lydia Jewell, thank you for your knowledge and information. HUD workers are not knowledgeable. Oh, Lily, I can tell you, man, look, after all these years, there are some superheroes that work at housing authorities, but the vast majority of them hate their job and they hate the people that call. They would prefer you never called, never emailed and bothered them. And there's two reasons why. 30% of them have a legitimate reason. The same, look, I know because I'm a consultant and I deal with people that have no grasp on reality, that have a lot of mental health crisis issues, and they make this extremely hard. So you can imagine every day you're dealing with people that have all kinds of crazy problems going on inside their minds and their body, and they act out on the phone. And then you take a good housing authority employee and you turn them evil. But that's only about 30% of the time. The other 7% of the time, you just simply get people working at housing authorities because it is a paycheck and they honestly do not give a shit whether you live or die. If you email them one too many times, they will blacklist your ass, and you can be sure that their entire life mission, like you tell them, hey, you know what? I don't like your attitude, lady. I'm going to report you to HUD. They'll make it their life's mission to get you banned. Okay. There are some people that operate like toddlers that work at these places. I've seen it play out all over America. Okay. Not everybody there's got a professional degree. Usually, the people that work in the back office, the people you never see, the people that make the decisions, those are the ones you would like to be able to see. But the people you're getting, look, when you passed through McDonald's this morning and you saw that woman with an attitude sling your little cheeseburger out the window, that's the same lady that's going to go clock in at the housing authority later, and she's not looking to take no shit off your ass. So just beware that the same lunatics that work down at the burger and chicken wing shop are going to be the same fuckers that are going to be handling your case. So you have to be very cautious. And they can be anybody, okay? They can be any color, any race, and any age, man. But I got to tell you, some of the most ignorant bastards I ever talked to and had to deal with case-wise work at housing authorities. And for the reasons that I just explained, they've either been exploited and turned evil, or they truly just genuinely hate their job and prefer you just left them alone. If anybody disagrees with that, please email me. All right, moving on. So I went on that wild tear. The TCH says, yes, you're absolutely right. I appreciate you backing me up on that. I think most people that are a member of this channel do back me up in that respect. You know, you got to take, and it is what it is, you know. I've learned, let me tell you something, even though I know that I'm going to, look, you can imagine I take on people's cases, right? I do casework for them. I actually have to call the housing authority. So I get the same, look, it's like Jim Jones and drinking the same Kool-Aid. You know, those of you that are old enough to know who Jim Jones was and that Kool-Aid, look, I don't partake in the Kool-Aid. These housing authority employees, the only way I can get around them to get my clients what they need is by outsmarting them. So I don't catch attitudes with them. I play them for some, you know, I play them as best I can to get past them. Okay. And so that's what I teach my clients to, is not to get to mentally engage with these people. Never go to them and try to seek advice, because you're never going to get an adequate answer. You'll get half the truth, part of the truth, the whole truth, but not all of the truth, you know, and then it just depends on whatever they want to tell you on the phone and things like that. And a lot of it's very discouraging. What all of you really need to know are the policies, the procedures, the data manuals, the rules in which they operate, the ways they must conduct yourself under Title 24 federal law. Once you have that and you're actually armed with a real weapon, then you can go in and apply. And trust me, you'll cut through that like hot butter. But a lot of guys, you just choose to go use your dollar pen, stick it to paper, and wish for the best. And then a lot of you contact, oh man, I don't understand why I've been on this list 25 years. They just said I had another 70 to go. And I'm not speaking in any reference to anybody that just commented, but that's the point. A lot of you guys just don't know anything, and then you put your name, your number, and all that shit, and you forget about it, and it never happens. Look, there are very specific reasons why they accept you. Those reasons change in every zip code. Well, not every zip code, for every housing authority. If you don't know them, then you better hire somebody that does know. Because once you give your answers, that's it. There's no, oh, well, you know what? Next Wednesday, I'm going to go. I'm going to change answer number 5 and see if that sends me up 1 spot or sends me down 6. They don't play that game. You give those answers, you're stuck with that bullshit for another year. When you recertify, then you can tell them a new set of things. Okay? Other than that, you're stuck with it. So, you know, you have to make a decision. You guys have to make decisions on how much is it worth to you to go live in a homeless shelter in the woods, surf your friend's couch, or just simply get it done for whatever it costs to do so. Or you can hire one of these housing lawyers. They will gladly take a second mortgage against you and your car for thousands and I tell you who they're going to call. They're going to call me. You know how many attorneys call me because they don't have time to sit there and read all the shit that I've read? Yeah, they practice law, but that's law. They don't practice HUD. They don't practice procedural manuals and all that. They don't order 1,600 manuals from Nana McKay. You see my point? So what do? They charge you the same amount, then they hire me, and then they make money for doing nothing. You're going to end up at my doorstep no matter what. I put out 238 people out of this channel last year. You know how many came back under a different name to hire me? Because then when they left, they got put out for acting outrageous. I banned them. Then they realized they were really screwed. They rolled around and said, oh, Jesus Christ, I didn't realize that almost all these other videos were just talking nonsense. Then I got on the Google and I could barely even scrape together a single clear answer. And then they're like, it's like them showing back up at my doorstep, but this time they're begging. You never had to do that. That's why I always tell people, man, treat me with respect. I'll treat you the same way, and your case will get handled the right way. I don't begrudge people that way. But a lot of people, oh, well, I'll just go shop down the road. Well, look, you've already been to the best. So how much do you think you're going to achieve by hiring the 3rd, the 4th, or the 20th best in the country? So take that advice for real. And for those of you that are on the fence about it, look, take a stroll around the block, go see some other YouTube channels about Section 8. You'll be right back. I bet you don't get through 6 of those videos before you're ready to pull your hair out and curse them out. A lot of people don't give a damn what they make videos about, and they certainly are not consultants. Okay, they're just there to tell you how to get a voucher in 3 seconds flat. Just 3 steps: put gas in car, drive to housing authority, fill out an application, and that's their fucking advice. That's the kind of rodeo clowns that YouTube. It's like a garden of clowns. All people are nuts on YouTube, man. They'll give you fucking advice about bombs, anything, but they really don't know how to do any of that stuff. They're not consultants. They're simply need you to click that ad, click that lotion ad, click that shaving ad so they can make a nickel. You think these people care whether or not you're on the streets? No, they just need you to click the Gillette shaving cream ad. They need that nickel, and they're willing to risk your housing for a fucking nickel. So be my guest, folks. Go around YouTube, talk to all those idiots if you'd like to. So I went on another tear. I'm known for that. And I'm also known for my profanity. So if anybody has a problem with profanities, you're really going to struggle and will need to be, you're going to have to be at church at noon Sunday, because we get real in this channel. I don't have time to dress up like a Barbie doll and then act like Connie Chung up here. We're going to get to the truth, and either you accept it or you leave it. If you need a different type of answer, then go see a psychiatrist. They like to tell you what you want to hear. I'm not going to do it. All right, Max Law. Hey, man, good to see you back. Now, I know Max is either pre-law or an attorney. Max, you got to let me know, which one are you, pre-law or are you actually an attorney now? ESQ, I believe they call it, because my cousin's an attorney, and I know Max Law there. I know like I said, I know he's in law school or is either currently practicing law, because he mentioned it one time. So he's no stranger. I have lots of real estate agents, brokers, attorneys, and other things, family court attorneys, and so on that visit me for a variety of different reasons. Thankfully, none want to sue me or put me in prison. So anyways, moving on, Letitia H. There is no attorneys who specialize in housing. Well, actually, I disagree with that. So probate courts do deal in that, and the reason they deal in housing is often you have people that, and I'm sure Max Law would agree, and during probate, sometimes some of the elderly are too, what do you call it, are convalescent and so on, and so the housing, they deal with housing in a specific way, just like during like a divorce attorney, and certain types of lawyers do deal with housing. I'm not suggesting they go out and get clients vouchers, but I'm saying, and on the reverse side of that, there's lots of attorneys for evictions. Okay, so there are some reasons why there would attorney involvement would be there. Mona Jenkins says HUD is a circus. I don't think HUD's in DC. So HUD is just HUD up there. Those are the feds. I think what you really meant to say is most housing authorities that are run by the county from the state are running a circus show. You can go get your face painted, get a balloon, and a voucher, because that's what that shit is. It really is. I'm going to roll back and see if there's any other questions here, because I think we're reaching the climax of the channel. I think we hit a maximum of 25 live viewers a day. That's not bad, It's a Section 8 channel. I'm not going to set my hair on fire and jump off a roof and try to get 1 million views. I'm trying to deal with a humanitarian crisis and people that need vouchers. And unfortunately, nobody really finds that interesting. So we probably will not grow the channel and what they call going viral. Going viral here is when I get 50 views at a time. So I'm okay with that. Max Law says you need a law degree to read all that BS. They don't put it in the brochure. I would agree. Reading legislation, and I'm sure you've done that to some degree under your casework. It's a lot to read, and a lot of it's jargon, and I think it's also written by pre-law students. I think a lot of legislation on the market currently is written by pre-law students, or they're in the White House or whatever it may be. So I would agree with you there, Max Law. Letitia, thanks for the laughs. No problem, Letitia. I try to bring a little bit of personality into things, especially when I'm talking about cats and different issues that cause me to roll down the stairs or deal with housing authority employees that are crazy, or my sometimes ridiculous clients. I do have clients that are absolutely batshit crazy, but that's okay. I love them too, and I know how to hang with them. That's the nice part about me. Think about this. There are other housing consultants out there. I don't know they're as good as me, but boy, if they sense for a minute you've got schizophrenia or other issues, or you can't keep a normal conversation, or if you're talking out of the norms of them, they'll just hang up and not deal with you. So I'm one of the few people that will pack my bag, walk right into the nut farm and talk with everybody. I don't give a damn. Look, people need housing. I don't care how you're mentally or physically affected. I don't shut clients off for stuff like that. I just I try to work with them unless you have, and I got some clients that could potentially have dementia or the issues where you have a consult and they literally forget by the next day. Those are the toughest cases because we have to do lots of talking. Sometimes it's very difficult because unfortunately they don't have a very good grasp on reality. And no, I don't repeatedly charge people like that. That would be unethical and criminal, and I don't do that. But I do have clients that, um, you know, every other case with them is they don't remember anything. They barely remember me, so it's difficult, But we do what we can to match the plot and the course of all people respectfully and as best we can. So, and I also deal with people from around the world. I've got people. Look, I had a lady from Saudi Arabia. She was born here, left, spent 20 years there. She's coming back. She's got nothing. Okay. She's got nothing. She's a dual citizenship. She has every right to be in this damn country if she wants to come back here. So I'm helping her transition here. I've dealt with people all over the world. You wouldn't believe some of the places that I get calls from, and they're dual citizenship. Sometimes parents move to different nations, have children there, and then they have dual citizenship. They come back here because they moved to a country where maybe it was, well, America's America, but I mean, maybe they've come from a place where it was really difficult for them to live there. Now they're coming back and they have to start with nothing, like a lot of people that arrive in this country. So I would say I'm kind of a little bit of an international star when it comes to dealing with people from around the world, especially Australia, the UK. You get lots of people transitioning from the UK back here, and vice versa, Canada, Saudi Arabia, and many other places. Okay. Well, guys, look, it's been 45 minutes. I think I have enjoyed as much as I can talking with you guys. It doesn't look like we've got a hot crowd tonight, so that's unfortunate. Maybe next time I'll set my hair on fire and jump off the roof and see if I can get 1 million views. But for now, I think we'll just stick on the same course and plot with this stuff. I've enjoyed talking with all of y'all. If anything runs across your minds that you are uncertain about, you're always welcome to email me liberally. Please do not email 50,000 words. I don't like reading life stories because they're so sad. Just stick to a few sentences, get the point across is usually best. Okay. All right, guys, you enjoy your night, and we'll see you again.